Hello everyone, welcome to O-Level Biology. My name is Farah Abdesalam, an ex-IGCSE student. I'm going to be your guide this May-June session, inshallah. For those of you who don't know, O-Level Biology examinations consists of 3 different papers. Paper 2, which is a multiple choice paper. It consists of 40 different questions to be answered in 45 minutes. And paper 4, which is a theoretical exam paper where the student has to answer in details using his own handwriting, of course. And paper 6 is an alternative to practical examination paper, which is also out of 40 marks. It requires some very easy basic skills that we're going to learn together, inshallah. I'm very excited to start this session with you guys. I'm just going to explain a little bit of the first chapter for those of you who want to register, so you're able to decide whether you want to register with me or not. So let's start explaining. The chapter that I'm going to explain is the cell structure and magnification chapter. This is one of the easiest chapters you're going to encounter. It's very basic. It's literally a starter for biology. So as we all know, living things are made up of cells that act as building blocks of an organism. Any organism that is alive is made up of cells. Cells are the basic building units of any organism on this planet. Cell shape varies based on its function, and this will be known in details later when we talk about specialized cells, because some cells have a specific shape to be able to carry out a specific function. Of course, cells cannot be seen by the naked eyes. We use microscopes to view cells because cells are very extremely minute. They can be micrometers or even nanometers in size, so we view them with microscopes. We have 2 different types of microscopes. We have a light microscope and we have an electron microscope, but the most common microscope that we use is a light microscope to view very basic structures in a cell. Light microscopes magnify the appearance by 1,500 times, and an electron microscope has a wider range in magnification. As we all know, cells are the basic units of any organism. After cells, we have tissues, and after tissues we have organs, and after organs we have body systems. The difference is that tissues are a group of associated, similarly structured cells that perform specialized functions for the survival of the organism. So a tissue is basically just a group of cells that are gathered together to perform a specialized function. An organ is a complete independent part formed from different tissues that carry out a specific function. So if I have a group of different types of tissues gathered together, grouped together, they will form an organ, and this specific organ formed will perform a specific function. For example, the heart. The heart is an organ formed of different types of tissues to form the heart. The lungs, kidneys, the brain, all of these are different organs carrying out a specific function that's different than the other. For example, the heart pumps blood all over the body. The brain controls the activities of the body. The lungs are for breathing and for gas exchange. So each different organ carries out a specific function, and each different organ is made up of different tissues. An organ system or a body system is consisting of different organs working together to carry out a certain function. For example, the blood vessels and the heart, they work together to form the circulatory system. and so on. Then we're going to talk about the cell organelles. First, we have the cell membrane. The cell membrane is found in all cells. It's also known as the plasma membrane or the cell surface membrane. It's a partially permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane, which regulates what passes in and out of the cell. So if we have a question that asks about the functions of the cell membrane, you can say that it's a partially permeable membrane which regulates what passes in and out of the cell. Okay? And the second function of the cell membrane is that it encloses the cytoplasm and all the cell organelles. We're going to know what is the cytoplasm and all the other cell organelles later on. The cell membrane is made up of a thin layer of proteins and lipids. By the way, lipids are fats, known as the phospholipid bilayer. So the cell membrane is also known as the phospholipid bilayer. Why? Because it's made up of a layer of proteins and lipids. Okay? This picture here is a detailed diagram of the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. You don't really have to memorize all these labels. This is just a detailed structure of the phospholipid bilayer. It's called the bilayer because it's a layer made up of two different layers. Okay, this is called the lipid bilayer. You don't really have to know all the details about the plasma membrane phospholipid bilayer, because if you ever take A-level biology, you're going to know all of this in details. Now we're going to talk about the nucleus. The nucleus is present in both plant cells and animal cells. And by the way, the cell membrane is also present in both types of cells, in animal cells and plant cells. The nucleus contains the DNA. The DNA is short for deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is basically the genetic materials of the cell. DNA and chromosomes are basically, they're the same thing. The thing is, chromosomes, we call DNA chromosomes in a specific stage of cell division, and we're going to know the difference later in inheritance. So DNA and chromosomes are the same thing. So nucleus, it contains genetic material of the cell in the form of chromosomes. It's present in both animal and plant cells, and it is absent in prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are bacterial cells. As I said, they are absent in prokaryotic cells, which are bacterial cells, and we're going to know why later in classification, why bacterial cells do not have a nucleus and what exactly is their DNA. They lack a DNA. They have a circular DNA, which is found scattered throughout the cytoplasm. The nucleus is surrounded by a double layer membrane known as the nuclear envelope. So right now we're going to know the DNA in the nucleus is important for what reasons. DNA codes for protein synthesis. It is transmitted from one cell to another during cell division, and it is passed to new individuals when sex cells fuse in sexual reproduction. That's how you inherit genes from your parents. Their DNA, DNA from your mother and DNA from your father is passed to the new individual cell formed during fertilization. The third and last organelle we're going to talk about is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance which is made up of 70% water, along with dissolved substances like proteins, carbohydrates, salts, minerals, organic molecules, and metabolic reactions of the cell takes place in the cytoplasm. So very simply, this is a drawing of a simple animal cell. Animal cells contain a central nucleus, and they have, so all the organelles found in either an animal cell or a plant cell, they contain a nucleus, and they contain cytoplasm where all the organelles float inside. This is like the media where chemical reactions takes place, and it is the matrix that holds the organelles within the cell. And this is a plant cell. The difference is, this is, if you're asked to label, this is the cell membrane. A plant cell also has a cell membrane. This is the cell membrane, but it also has a cell wall. This one, this outer layer here, is known as the cell wall. Now, there is this trick when you want to label the cell wall, you have to extend the line. So if he's asking you in a multiple choice question, he's giving you this line and it's near to touch the cell membrane, and he asks you, what is this? Is this the cell wall or the cell membrane? This is actually the cell wall, as long as it doesn't touch this part right here, this, the second layer, the cell membrane, it's not the cell membrane. This is still the cell wall, okay? So that's the difference. We're going to talk about the rest of the organelles next time, inshallah, on our first lesson. And I hope that this demo was useful and was very well understood by all of you watching. Thank you so much.